Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this broadcast. I'm Thomas Fessler, my friends, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy Monday, June 17th, as we all come together as a community to go ahead and talk about those things the government doesn't want us talking about. To talk about those things possibly from science fiction, and of course, yes, to talk about those things, well, you know, from the X-Files, what things we're talking about. We're talking about the things that you can go out and see over your house in the evenings, but sometimes you just need to go outside and look up. What are we talking about? We're talking about good old-fashioned UFOs here in Disclosure Tonight, and we still call them that for a good reason. Why? Because there's a word for it in every single language around the world throughout perpetuity. Who in the heck knew? So as the federal government continues their 77-year cover-up against the extraterrestrial presence, how do we know? Oh, just take a look, folks. It's all a cover-up. Whether it's the Navy chasing them through the air and under the sea, or it's the Air Force chasing them through the air to figure out where they crashed, to bring in the OGA, to go ahead and pull out those bodies to match their DNA to ours, and to use their technology for our weapons of mass destruction. Yes, folks, that's why we come together several nights a week to bring you the latest news and information, and tonight is like no other. We've got a dear friend of ours, Jim Segala, in for the show tonight. And before I bring him up, that was an accident, but let's go ahead and welcome in our audience, shall we? Well, you know, it's a little rough, but you know what? We try our best here. Let's go ahead and take a look and see who the heck we have in our audience today. Maestro, let's go ahead and start those drums, shall we? I think so, if I can find them. Here we go. Oh, maybe a little too loud. All right, who the heck we have out there? Let's take a look and see the participants in the chat tonight. We have the Charles Kerr. The Charles Kerr is here. Welcome, Charles. Chris B is around along with Daryl Zernick, Mr. Live Long and Prosper. Eddie's here along with Eli McGinnis. Fink Ployd, you weren't first tonight. Oh, were you? I can't tell. I don't think you were, but welcome, my sir. We have Firefly, Invisible Tracker, Jay Rhino, J Cat, Kelly, with her piercing blue eyes. Good to see you, Kelly. Kathy's here. King Bull. All the K's are present and accounted for. Meryl's around along with Mick, Niles Guy, Peggy, and Steve from South Florida with Crockett and Tubbs. I think you guys survived a flood. Thank God on that one. Rachel Osborne's here along with Reality Check, also known as our own Hollywood Herald. Resonates around along with Rough Reddy. Rumple 440. Not 420. How about that? Shelley Montgomery's here along with Stephen T. Meir. Twiggy just popped in along with Rumple 440. Twiggy, and of course, let's round this up with Wildcat Mahone. On that note, it's that time of the night to go ahead and get past the audience, and let's go ahead and welcome in the people in our back chat. Let's see the first person we got there. Let's welcome in. His name starts with a B and then with a P. Let's welcome in our very own Brian Pemble. How's it going, Brian?
Oh, it's going great. Looking forward to having Jim here. This is going to be a great show. So thank you, Jim, for joining.
I think so. You know, nothing wrong about talking about UFOs or trying to capture them on data and go from there. It's going to be a good one. And, of course, the latest UFO news. There's some breaking stuff out there that not a lot of people heard about unless you were in the thralls of Twitter, my friends. Let's go ahead and see who else we have there. We have Mr. Michael Sokoloff, the man coming from the country where all the U's are silent. Michael, how you doing? How's things in Canada?
Things are wonderful.
Awesome.
We got the Oilers just killed the Florida Panthers.
Are the Oilers, is that a Canadian football team from the NFL?
Oh, you don't watch hockey, do you?
Oh, no, not really.
8-1. 8-1. That's a killer score. That's like back in the 1980s when the Oilers were winning, 5-0.
Oh, no, back in the 80s, if you want to talk about people winning, I'll talk about the Blackhawks and Jeremy Roenick. Sorry.
Yeah, well, the Blackhawks didn't beat the Oilers.
Well, that's all right. But I hear the hockey team from Seattle's doing pretty well. The Kraken.
The Oilers and the Panthers left. It's the Stanley Cup.
Oh, there you go. We'll see who wins that one, my friend.
Well, Tuesday's the next game. We'll see what happens then. Good luck to the Oilers.
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck to the Oilers. There you go. Also in the back, we have our dear friend coming down from south of me in the state of Washington. It's Mr. Nick. How's it going, Nick? Oh, I'm fine, Thomas. Thanks for coming out. All right, and this brings us back to our dear friend, Mr. Mike. No, that's not right. Our dear friend, Mike, Disclosure. How's it going, Mike?
Oh, it's going well, Thomas. We have a very interesting show planned for the audience today. I'm looking forward to it. And our good friend Jim is joining us. So we have a lot of good discussion and conversation, I think, for everybody.
I think so. Now, to go ahead and start off the day, we know that Jim has a really cool device that he's been working on called a MUPAS device. I'm probably saying it wrong. And it's used for going ahead and detecting, well, those things in the sky we call UFOs, orbs, etc. Jim, how you doing today, my friend?
Very good. How are you?
Good, doing well. Now, one of the interesting things I want to bring up, because it's kind of tied to all this. Let me see, where did it go? Not quite a colleague, but someone who's in a similar area than yours, believe it or not, popped up. I'm not sure if the audience knew about this. We've all heard about the Soul Conference coming from Dr. Gary Nolan, but apparently there was a unannounced Soul Conference that took place in Austin, Texas, just this last Saturday. Nobody knew about it. It wasn't really promoted on Twitter, but it sounds like, we all heard about Gary Nolan being at the SALT conference last year, right, Jim, where he was there presenting to a bunch of VC and a lot of money, trying to inspire everything and get people excited about investing in this great field and everything. Well, apparently it sounds like the pitch from the Soul Foundation that was taking place down in Austin was to a limited audience. They had Gary Nolan. They had, who else was there? Dr. Helput and others going in and presenting. But this was looks like it was a private audience that was there, mostly VCs, to hear about this and potentially where they can be investing their money. Now, one of the people who was there at the conference, let me go ahead and bring this up. Oh, it's going to be screwed up from the other day. Just give me a second to fix this. All right, get that there. No, not that one. Fix this over here, get it down, bring it down a little bit, shrink it up. There we go. Well, would you look at that? We have David Hooper and Dr. Gary Nolan. And what David Hooper has here, he's absolutely thrilled to demo my UAP startups latest work to Gary Nolan and learn about the pioneering efforts at the Soul Foundation in the UAP field. It was a pleasure to hear him speak, but more importantly, what Dave let off in a later video from this broadcast, from the show, was that there's a bunch of VCs who are all interested in the platform. So it sounded like Gary Nolan had done some fishing from the SALT conference last year, brought together some people who were interested in potentially investing in this area to bring them out and start showing some technology. Your thoughts on this, Jim?
Yeah, I think that, David has a very good idea, and he's going down a road where I think that he's going down the correct road. He's looking for anomalies in all the little sensor readings that he's taking, and he's actually looking for the blue shifts. Blue shifts are an indication that there's something very extremely high energy passing by a particular spot. So he's on the right track.
Right. So it's great to see him there. It's great to see there's a lot of VCs and interested in it. But just before everyone gets excited about this, I've been trying to temper everyone's expectations lately because, Jim, there's been so much hype going about UAP legislation and disclosure moving forward when it's really like trying to pull an anchor through a field of concrete blocks. There's not a lot of forward momentum going on, a lot of snags, a lot of setbacks along the way. So the most interesting thing to understand is if there are VCs who are coming forward for this platform or potentially for others, it's not like, here's unlimited money, figure out what you want, we're going to stand in the background. These are VCs, venture capitalists, which means they're going to take their millions or billions that they have, sprinkle it around different organizations to see potentially if one of these things is going to take off and bloom. And out of that, they're going to be able to hopefully recoup their money and many, many times over. So this pitch fest that was going on from Gary was about that, which means that disclosure, or the platforms that go along with disclosure, are being democratized, monetized, and with a capitalistic kind of view on it, to try and develop these platforms to not bring out the information for the public for us all to know. We're talking about something that can be taken to create proprietary platforms to go ahead and take the concept of disclosure, and in his case, he's trying to sell it back to the DoD or the Space Force or whoever to give them, or maybe even RO, to get that portable platform for figuring this stuff out. Does that sound about accurate?
I think so. Whether or not that's the way that the question will inevitably be answered, I don't know. In fact, I would say that probably not. I think that you have to realize that most of the science that we've ever had in the whole history of science came from a whole bunch of people moving the line a little bit forward.
Right.
And, you really never seen anybody really make money off of a scientific discovery, only until well into the future. We still have so many unanswered questions that's fundamental questions that we still have to answer, that I would say that, you really have to start thinking about, can I make something that answers those questions? And then, are there ever going to be people that are going to want to pay money to, whatever? I just don't think that it's the way to do that is to do it through trying to make money.
Right. Well, it seems like if David is trying to create a company that's targeting the military for his portable platform, that kind of says dollar signs to me. It sounds like they're trying to land a project or a contract with an organization to take this from something he may be running out of his garage or his house or a small office and actually turn it into an enterprise. You know who that happened to? Enigma Labs. Enigma Labs start off as something small. They brought some people together, and before you knew it, they had a nice amount of cash flow coming from RO, and this was to go ahead and democratize the overall, or monetize, basically getting people out there with their phones, with an app to record stuff, to submit it, fill out forms, and all the data that they were coming up with actually was being shared with RO. So it's not like it was a private organization that was trying to do this to bring out disclosure. It primarily sounded like it was an intelligence or a counterintelligence platform for gathering content for the military.
Or data mining to sell back to the military.
Yes.
So they have access to people's private information. That's what you're talking about, Thomas?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Because that's exactly what they did, Jim. That's what happened with Enigma Labs. That's not a very good enterprise to be involved with. What's your opinion on that?
I really think that a lot of these things are happening to the general public, and why would we ever keep this information from the general public? I mean, it's created by them. To hide it back from them it just doesn't make any sense. So, always, when I first started this with the organization I was with, it was always, we're going to gather information, we're going to come up with some conclusions and get it out to the general public through papers, publications, allowing people to gather data, other scientists to grab the data. So is that what we're going to, is that what we're seeing here? I don't think so. That's going to be proprietary information. It's going to be hidden, especially if it goes into the government. Forget it. You'll never see that data.
And this could take us down the same path as like what happened with AI research. Basically, what happened with AI was there was a big community, a lot of information being shared, and there was a lot of momentum in different angles and different directions, all taking shape over time. But then when OpenAI came out and announced their platform, all the information sharing shut down and stopped, and all the communication between all the researchers and all the companies doing the research completely shut down, and it turned into people like Microsoft plunking down a lot of money to lose it, people like Apple plunking down a lot of money to gain it, but others, a bunch of different organizations who are doing research in this, they all stopped communicating. And what they've said is, while we gained a lot of interest within the AI community and people investing into it and companies trying to turn it into, we've probably lost a collective, what I think what they said was 10 years of advancement in that small amount of time, because all the researchers, no one's communicating with anybody anymore.
Yeah,
and I'd hate to would see that kind of stuff start going in the field that is so just starting to take off now for UFOs or UFO or UAP discovery.
Yeah, so I agree. So if you want to make a discovery, if you want to get science to move forward, you have to give the information to the people, the theorists, the experimentalists, to actually move the line forward. So you have to have a bunch of people gathering data, and then a bunch of scientists taking that data and making sense of it. I mean, because it's first of all, it's very opaque what this data looks like. It doesn't like jump out and say, here I am, UFO. And you have to go digging deep. So that takes a lot of work and an effort. So you need a lot of scientists doing that.
Yeah. Talking about digging deep, one of the things I've talked to the show about, I was talking to you on before we got things going here on today's show, is I live on a line, if you want to call it, or a regular pattern where I've got the UFOs, orbs, flying from the southwest to the northeast, right in front of my house on a regular basis. And it comes down to a point where I'm going out there and I'm seeing, and I'm not going out that often. I'm still seeing them 2-3 times a year, which either means that they're either hanging out there waiting for it and saying, okay, Thomas is coming outside, roll the ship, or something saying, hey, Fessler, get the hell out here. Or they're just out there and they're moving so frequently along this regular path on a regular basis that I'm just going out there at random times and I'm running into it. And now you developed something called a MUPAS platform, right?
And it was specifically designed to catch those opportunities where people are present, and at the same time, you have these anomalies present, and to correlate and map those two together. So and when you find out, and exactly to your point, is that when there's not a lot of people there, there's not a lot of UFOs there. It doesn't record anything. And that's one of the horrible things that happened to Bigelow that made him give up the whole thing, is that he had to have scientists 24/7 there to actually get anything to happen. When they went away, everything else went away. So it interacts with the people on the property, not just the property.
Right.
So just having cameras there all the time doesn't really do you any good. What you need to do is you have to have the people that interact with it. So if you weren't there, probably these UFOs wouldn't probably be such a common occurrence.
Right, but it's not like they're just coming and hanging along my house. There's a regular path. If you extrapolate it back to the angle where it's at, it looks like the source of it is coming from, sorry about the dogs fighting or playing in the background. If you go ahead and look at extrapolate a line from it from where I'm at and go back to the southwest, it looks like they're coming from the Bangor Island area, where our United States has over close to 1,200 nuclear warheads at their Trident missile base. So they're coming from that general direction. But the thing is, where the heck are they going to? Because they're going towards the east, and they're going towards the northeast, which is more towards the Scablands and different parts of northeastern Washington. But it's not like they're going towards southeast Washington, where we have like Hanford, the Hanford reservation or base, where they've gone and created basically all the plutonium that have been used in all the nuclear weapons that we have in place.
So you make a good point. Just one of the things that that I just concluded about a year ago was a study that was kicked off at the Institute of Advanced Study under Hal Puthoff. We pulled together about 35 people that had a lot of experiences seeing craft, seeing orbs, seeing all sorts of things. And after you have those people for 3 years, there's my buddy from the Institute. It's Eric Davis.
Eric Davis, yeah, there he is. Eric Davis
there he
hanging
is.
out with
Sat
David
right next
Hooper
to
as
me.
well by
He
the
was in
platform.
office next to me. So it was actually quite interesting to see that when you have people in the vicinity, that's when you get the biggest interactions with the phenomena. You get a lot of orbs, you get a lot of crafts, you get.
Yeah, you do. You know, I never realized how tall Eric Davis is. He actually looks much taller than Matt Ford looks. I didn't realize that.
I think his perspective of the camera is kind of weird because he's about my height. So
yeah. But great to see. It goes to show you when Hal Puthoff comes out to these conferences and he's there, and Gary Nolan is there and others, there's a decent pull at that. See, what did he say here? I had the honor of presenting our UAP detector to Eric Davis. During the demo, I showcased his capabilities to detect the potential blue shifting effect on EM waves, a phenomenon theorized by Hal Puthoff in his space-time metric engineering paper. Do you want to fill us in on that, kind of what he means by the blue shifting effect on EM waves?
Yeah, so probably going back to the 80s, I think that he came up with this whole theory where when you have something high energy within a confined area, like, somebody's backyard, you're going to get a change in the space-time metric. When you pass a light wave or electromagnetic wave through it, it would actually not go straight through it. It would kind of like make a very jagged movement through it. And at some point, it could be red shifted. At some point, it could be blue shifted, meaning that the wavelengths are getting squished together as it goes through an area where the space-time metric is squished, and it would be spread out in areas where the space-time metric is spread out. So when crafts go by, super high energy crafts, the things that can obtain superluminal speeds, that is enough energy to change the space-time metric. So you do get this shifting of all the waves. So if you have a normal 2.4 gigahertz wave that you normally see from Wi-Fi, all of a sudden that's like 2.40001 as you pass through these very strange areas where UFOs are present. If you have very sensitive equipment, you can sense that, and that's exactly what they're doing here. And that's one of their indicators that something very strange is passing through the neighborhood.
Gotcha, because we're getting the different radio frequencies of everything that's there, and that's causing it to compress or expand potentially, and coming out of that, that's why you would see this is going on here. Now, looking at the prior picture he had up here when Gary Nolan was around, let's see if, there we go, it's a conference. Let's see if I can go back to that one really quick. When Gary Nolan's there, in addition to sensors for that, it looks like they definitely have multiple, let me bring it up here, sorry, visual sensors going on there as well. So they're not just going and looking from a signal quality, but they are going for a 4K. This is a 4K pan tilt zoom sensor they have, and this is more of a lower sensor, probably a 2K. What do you call it? It's a fishbowl effect when you can look overhead.
Yeah, fish eyes. Yep. So it has a very wide angle.
Wide angle. And I've seen some of this equipment where the fisheye will go ahead and detect where the thing is in the sky, and then the equipment will go ahead and move the pan tilt zoom to go ahead and zero in on that location.
Yep, that's exactly so that's what I incorporated. I mean, this is way back now in 2018, 2019, when Hal, under Hal's group, we came up with these kind of scenarios where we said, we don't really know what the thing's going to be, but I know it's going to be something flying by. I want to pinpoint it, and then I want to zoom in on it. And then one of the things that we started doing is, okay, let's get a spectrum analyzer on it to find out not only what it is, but what's the energy levels of it is. So it actually kind of, what he's got there looks pretty much what we had a couple of years ago.
Right.
And it's actually the right thing to do. It's and these devices that I'm talking about that we have are going into the Hessler Valley right now, and they're going to look at those strange phenomena they find with they're calling the Hessler lights.
Oh wow, is that down in Texas?
No, that's over in Norway.
Arizona.
in Norway. That's
Oh, Norway. Yeah, the Hestilin lights. Yeah, sorry,
yeah,
we've
Hestilin
got
lights.
some lights
So
down in in Texas that are similar to that. So it's interesting. You've got these things going out worldwide to try and figure out some of the stuff, because that's the thing, is the phenomenon just isn't here in the United States. We have events going worldwide on a regular basis.
absolutely. And now with the internet, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, so we're going to be streaming this stuff coming from, in real time out to everybody. And what we want everybody to do is get into there and watch it and see the alerts and sign up for alerts and actually be part of this whole experiment. They're very excited.
Are you streaming the data up to the Google Cloud, or
yeah,
where
it's
you
all going up to the cloud? Everybody has access to it. They can see it in real time. Do you remember back 100 years ago, or back when we were in high school or college, they had that
100 years ago.
Yeah, 100 years ago. Remember they had SETI,
like
and
it.
you could get SETI on your screensaver.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it all pumped to this. I don't remember if you remember that.
No, SETI at home it was called.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
I'm not that
same
old.
idea. I mean, if you get enough people watching it, enough people doing things and looking at it and making comments and doing narratives and saying, "Oh, did you see this?" That's when the stuff starts getting very interesting. You get the whole community involved in this thing.
Yeah. And that's what it comes down to. It is a community. There's so many people out there that are interested in this and getting there. But it's like, so far we're on June 17th of 2024, and this year's been pretty much a bust for disclosure. It seems like we've walked back a bit. Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick from ARO has had pretty much unchecked access to the media until recently. He's taken a step back from it at this point, but it seems like he had a pretty good campaign going to take the federal government's and the executive branch, the White House's position, to go ahead and put the toothpaste back in the tube. We never thought it could happen, but it's been going on. There's been so much denial, so much saying there's nothing there, there's no proof of anything, especially coming from someone like Sean Kirkpatrick, we could expect, but it's a complete reverse of direction. What are your thoughts on where we've been, where we've gone, and where we could go next?
Well, it's kind of funny. When I first joined Hal's group was back in 2011, I guess. Him, Hal Puthoff, and Eric Davis were campaigning with the U.S. government to get access to all their secret data. The stuff that's in Fort Bragg, or wherever they keep it, or whatever they have strewn around. And they were, every day was like, oh, we're so close, and to get access to the data, to get access to money. They were always so close, ever so close. And there was always something in the government blocking it. Like they would get to one group and they say, no, you can't have this money because, it's counterintuitive to, or it's counterproductive to what we want to do as a species. We're saying we're here on Earth and we're done. So they spent years and years and years, just almost almost getting it. And then it was big one meeting, and then the whole thing would fall apart. And they'd have to start all over again. So I watched those poor guys try for 10 years to get access and funding from the U.S. government to look into this stuff. And I think they just said, screw it. They gave up.
Right. What year was that? Was that around 2020?
I think they finally gave up around that time. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Wow.
And it was going on well before I even got there. So
around the time when we lost Trump in office and Biden administration came in, replaced leadership potentially in the Space Force and directions, and that's when the axe dropped on any of this stuff moving forward.
Yeah, and it's like new perspectives, people coming in, different point of views and things like that. So you get a lot of politics and opinions, and very difficult.
Different presidential administrations, for that matter, and that's been a contentious point of concern out there. There's a lot of people worldwide who just don't like Trump and what's going on. But who was it? Ross Coulthart came out recently, didn't he, Mike? Who basically said that if we're looking at what we have coming forward out of our presidential candidates and everything, that we've got a better chance with Trump and the Trump administration to move disclosure forward than we have from the Biden administration. What we learned from others high up in disclosure, whose names shall remain anonymous at this point, was that at the start of the Biden administration, there was a positive support for disclosure, but shortly after getting into the administration, the support for anything disclosure was pulled, and it's been pushback after pushback. Now, a lot of people will say, well, look at Biden. He passed 2 rounds of the National Disclosure Authorization Act. This is the money that feeds the Pentagon all their cash. And they're saying that's a big step, Dave Smethurst. I know you support Biden on this, but the thing we have to look at is and consider that, is there any president you think that would basically take and scuttle the funding for the military, which they put off signing until like the last possible day, end of December, to turn it on for the start of next year? Do you think any president, even if there were some UFO things in there, would not sign the National Defense Authorization Act because there's UFO stuff in the bill?
It depends on the popularity. I really don't. I don't know. It depends on who they're going to piss off and who they're going to be. Who are going to like them.
But supposedly, at the point of contention, when we were trying to go ahead and get National Defense Authorization Act for 2024 approved last year, Lloyd Austin was actually out there lobbying for the White House and the executive branch, saying, we don't want the stuff on eminent domain, all the language on non-human intelligence, strike that. And they basically gave us a lobotomized version of the bill that unfortunately members of the House of Representatives put forward and overrode anything that was in place from Chuck Schumer. It was sad.
Yeah, what might happen in the very near future or the future is that all of these agencies that look at possible threats to the United States public, like the Senate Armed Services Committee and the DIA and all those guys that are just looking after our safety, is that an event might happen like the TikToks, but TikToks that actually do some damage or do something. That's going to be the big switch, and all of a sudden it's going to be everybody's going to run to that. So yeah. I hate to say that. Oh,
you're talking, like I understand where you're coming. It's that, what do you call it, the flag event? A false flag event where something comes in and they're going to blame it on the aliens, potentially, that it could be, to say they've done something. But we've heard from some people out there saying there's a high level of possibility that the aliens are pissed at us, and they're coming back, and they want all their technology and all the remnants of their technology, and they want all the biologics and the remnants of the pilots that we didn't treat in the most humane ways. And if something like that would happen, that would be a decent event, kind of.
Yeah, I think so. That would move a lot of people.
Oh yeah. People said that, oh my God, look at this. The non-human intelligence, they've been aggressors towards humanity. They've been malevolent, yet not quite benevolent in that angle. But the truth of the matter is, if we've done nasty things and we've brought their craft down and we've killed their individuals and we took the alive ones and we've done horrible experiments to them, the way that our scientists will do to try and dissect everything, figure it out, that's not quite the most friendly things to do. But then again, you look at humanity, right? You look at all the things humanity does to the planet, to the biosphere, to every other type of living organism on the planet. And these aliens are going to come in and look at us and say, well, look at all the stuff they do there. Look at all the stuff they do here and everything else. So if we do the same thing to them, they can complain. But we do, don't we?
That's true. I completely agree.
Yeah.
But they do interact with us. So it's not like they're interacting with us because we have people that are receptive to that. And they're obviously trying to communicate with us in some fashion. I believe we just don't know what they're saying.
Yeah, that's true. That is absolutely true. Now, getting back to the thing here, I brought it up here from the the Soul presentation that took place in Texas. If I can get this picture up here, I think we've got Hal Puthoff here. Was there at the conference? Got Hal Puthoff. We've got Gary Nolan, but I'm not sure who the two other individuals are in that. Let me see if I can get Pixie up here and zoom in. Actually, me to copy this image to my desktop, open this with preview, and I can zoom in on their faces, and so you can figure out who is in the pictures here. We got Gary Nolan, a guy who likes to wear boots, and I wonder if this is the guy from Lou's new crew. Does he look familiar to you, Mike? No, I don't think so.
No, I'm not recognizing, not ringing a bell.
So, yeah, either way, Soul Conference thing happened. I reached out to Wes Decker, who's part of Texas, and said, hey, did you get a chance to attend? And he's like, yeah, I would have attended if I would have known. This thing happened in secret. Nobody knew it was going on. Any thoughts? Well, it's interesting to see that they would potentially do that, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't have explanation. Only that it's possible that if they do get some kind of a buy-in from a VC, they want to keep all the information private. They want to keep everything, under wraps.
Yeah. I gotcha. I gotcha completely. Here's another little clip coming from David Hooper, going ahead and talking about pitching a VC on my UAP defense startup in my element. And the thing is, this is just a 9-second clip. You listened, there is a decent sized crowd there. So it's not like in this event where it was just a couple people there. It sounds like there's a good 50, 100 people there at least. Yeah, absolutely. Mike, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Jim. I believe that this is something they want to deal with on a low-key aspect. They don't want the public to have general knowledge of what exactly it is that's going on, especially like the points that Jim made about if there's going to be an investment of funds from financiers. They want to focus on the advantages of this type of technology. They don't necessarily want to bring disclosure out to the public for free.
Yeah.
Right. So I agree. That's what makes the most sense with why they would be setting this up the way that they did. Yeah. Very low key.
Now, replying to David Hooper in part of the conversations, David said, great, speakers are direct, no BS, to the point. I asked the question yesterday, was this a VC-centric presentation? No answer. And the thing is, there's nobody who's brought any video content out on this, which again is very interesting because the what do you call it? Gary Nolan mentioned that in the future, when they're going to have presentations from the from Saul, that they're going to go ahead and make sure that everyone who's going to be on the stage or asking questions ahead of time is going to know that they're going to go ahead and be recording, and any questions from anybody and anyone is going to be publicly shown. But in this, it's been quiet, and it's not even like the Saul went and even promoted this. Did you find that interesting, Mike?
Yeah, but it also lines up with the points that Jim made, that they're trying to keep this off the radar for the general public. And if they really are focusing on trying to get investment money and have people involved in this, they don't want these individuals to be publicly known with what they're trying to do behind the scenes. It actually makes sense. And as far as not getting an answer to a question, Well, I learned a long time ago, no answer is an answer.
Right.
That's how I always see it.
Well, yeah, I was just pointing it out to the audience that I asked because I figured we've got to ask sometimes. We need to know what's going on, especially in something like this where disclosure has been so shut down. And as we're moving towards another, if you want to call it, chapter of disclosure to where we're still getting the obfuscation coming out of the DOD and the government, but now we have this additional layer of obfuscation coming from the VC crowd. It just seems like we're not getting closer. It almost seems like we're getting farther away from bringing out the truth to humanity that we all would like to see.
Well, you and I had private conversations about this, if you remember. And one of the points that you made that I thought was very interesting is that you said it's bad enough that we have been dealing with gatekeepers from the government for over 80 years on this subject. And it seems now like we're developing private gatekeepers on the private sector to suppress the same information away from the public.
Yeah.
So do we really need more gatekeepers to suppress this information? That's what makes it frustrating. So I remember that conversation. You made some very good points, and it seems like that's where we are, and that's where this seems to be going right now.
What are your thoughts, Jim?
I think that what they're doing is fundamentally wrong for what we're right now. I mean, look at this show, and this is all social media. People are getting involved in this. They're believing it. They're coming out. They're making claims that they've got these things going in their backyards or they're over the mountainside or whatever. So they can, if they want to sell their devices to the DOD and have them install it in places, that's great. They'll get maybe a couple hundred of them. It's when you get thousands of these things spread out all over the country and you get everybody in there and it's all networked together, it's all put in the cloud, and it's all given out to the public at large. That's when you're going to start seeing the real answers to their questions. I think that trying to bury this thing and keep it all private is always failed. Bigelow failed. He tried to keep that private. The current owner of Skinwalker Ranch doesn't release anything. It keeps everything private. I think he blew it because he swore that this is going to be a for the public thing. So we got to give it out to the public.
It seems like it's for the public, but it seems like in some of the episodes, they're stretching to find stuff to fill in the episode, and that's where you may have some little truths coming in, but there's a lot of bullshit sprinkled on top that how do you get behind this in science when it's more of an episodic television show than it is focusing on true science?
It's more like a soap opera. That's the problem.
Yeah, this is the actual show is actually designed to be drama based. It's a reality show.
Well, isn't it following the same basic? Isn't it brought up by Prometheus Entertainment,
Yep.
who did Ancient Aliens? They also did Oak Island, and it seems like it's more focused on that Oak Island episodic feel than it does more than anything.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got some things going. You've got some stuff coming together. What kind of stuff do you have coming up set for the second half of 2024 that you can talk about?
Well, I'm working now with some social media groups. I think social media is going to be the avenue to really start collecting data. So I'm with the Reddit groups, some other things like the Hestelin group, where you have an outlet to gather data. And that's the key thing. You got to find really good places to gather data. And once you do that, you have to put it together in a way that a general population of scientists can take a look at it, make sense of it, publish in the public domain, and let everybody read it and make it so it's very readable by people. So that's the path I'm going down now. So looking for private people that have instances of things going on, get some money from the side to put some devices on there, have them enter their experiences, and then take that and bring it out to the public. And that's basically what's going on now.
Yeah, it's an important steps forward because it's a matter of working with the community at large. I guess it's finding those places, getting the equipment in the locations, getting the data, verifying it. But what kind of avenues do you guys have for bringing that information forward to the public?
So we have, surveys that we were putting together that actually will be sent out to the general public to understand more about the phenomena in general, just from their perspectives. Yeah. And then sending it through, the AI tools now. It's just so easy to filter out and get really good data out of that. Making it super cheap to have people get a device, so maybe a watch or something like that, very, very affordable, that they can start gathering their own data and contributing to the big pot of data, and then be able to go in there and look at it and see other people and actually create a community where they're communicating with other people, having ideas, and then all the while you're monitoring all that to pull out information. Like I very strong believer that the young generation, the people in high school and in the early college years, are the generation that probably will be solving this problem, because they're the ones that they haven't gotten really run over by all of the stigma about UFOs and experiencing and things like that. And they're much more open. So, and they're all over the social medias, and they're very, very available and open to do with these kind of things.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm Gen X. I didn't get run over too much, luckily. And we're still fighting the good fight because we need to, and that's what it's about. It's about finding your values, standing up for it. And I'm honestly the kind of guy, Jim, who doesn't want to believe. Show me the facts, like Stanton Friedman would say, and I'll take it and run with it. But if you want me to believe, I'll leave believing more for religion or Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny, for that matter. We don't need to have a leap of faith here. We need to have a collection and a presentation of factual information. It's something that they wanted to bring forward from the movie A Terror in the Sky that one of the Daves in the area here had put together with. He brought almost $1 million worth of gear to go ahead and do observations. And it was great to see what they did. And without his gear, they never would have made the observations. But it's about taking those opportunities to gather the data, to share it, and to bring it forward. And I love the idea of bringing it forward in a public arena, because a lot of times a lot of this information is getting put behind the paywall of a video that, like what Terror in the Sky was put together by Carolyn Corey. We've had other ones that have come out recently, and you've got another one coming out, isn't it, from Mike Herrera, or who's the one who's bringing, not Mike Herrera, Dan Farah, right, Mike? Who's bringing
Dan Farah, yes, he's bringing out a new whistleblower documentary that's going to be coming out in September, October of this year, that includes Lou Elizondo and some other whistleblowers.
Right.
But
we also have James Fox, who's bringing out another video as well. Same audience, same kind of a thing that's targeted towards whistleblowers as well.
Correct. And that's also behind the paywall, like you just mentioned.
Right.
Which means a lot of people, the general public, is not going to have complete total access to the content, and it's going to be limited. Plus, if it doesn't meet the expectations of the public right now, and they're clamoring for any type of evidence to support disclosure moving forward, if they have to pay to access material that doesn't provide that for them, I think there's going to be huge backlash.
I think you've got that, but it's also like what you're saying is people are tired of the speculation. People are tired of the stories. Granted, David Grush brought a lot of good information forward. There's nothing besides his statements, which are good, that factually backs up any of this stuff that he or other people like Elizondo and others said, which there's a lot of naysayers out there who call him off and say you're nothing but a bunch of grifters. You're just trying to monetize off this kind of a thing, which I think is completely bullshit because a lot of these people haven't monetized shit off it. But it just comes down to is, I guess the old saying, shit or get off the pot. Give me some good evidence. Give me some information. I don't want to believe. I want to know.
Yeah, I completely agree. So can you put the question is, can you put something out there, some technology? We've got so much technology now, it's crazy. A piece of technology out there, distributed all over the place so you have a good spread of it, gather the data in a big wide web and bring it out and have scientists look at it and bring it out to the people and say, okay, here's what I found.
I think it could work. And it just comes down to getting irrefutable evidence, like what Dave Mason, sorry, I forgot his name before, brought forward on what they brought forward on what happened in Terror in the Sky. Now, Dave has also had really good recording coming off of FLIR cameras. We're talking about $12,000 to $24,000 cameras that he's recorded up in his house, probably about 10 miles from where I'm at right now, up on the east side of east side of Seattle, if you want to call it a Seattle area. They call it the east side. And with that stuff out there, I mean, he has chevron-shaped UFOs flying through the sky, some of them by themselves, following right behind commercial airliners. He has other ones that are moving along in tandem with an orb, lockstep in place as they're going along. And he has other ones where I've seen the videos as well, where the orbs are coming, but they come down close, which then causes that interference that you were talking about before that some of these craft can cause for electronics. And that was like, go ahead.
You need both. A lot of people have a great narrative. I saw a UFO. They maybe have a cell phone picture of it. But if you can get an actual video or a picture of a UFO or something that is flying through the sky that is not what you expected, and you have sensors that are actually getting pinged at the same time, that's significant. Because that means that it's no longer one of those like, oh, I saw something. It's like, I saw something and something completely unrelated to me saw the same thing at the exact same time. And every time I see this thing all of a sudden starts going.
Right. It's kind of like the last time I saw a UFO was the day after we had the Aurora Borealis. I went out there to look for it, unplugged the street light. I know how to do that, luckily, so I can get better optics around the house. And I go and look up, and there it goes, yet another UFO. I'm like, okay, I'm coming out of Aurora. It's just another fucking UFO. Here we go, flying by again. You just have to laugh at it sometimes. But the time before this one was the time that I went out front to look, for some reason I went out to take the dogs out. And when I went out there to look, I had one going in the sky, but then I had something that looked like a moth that flew by my head, and it was really close. And then going back to the video afterwards, there was actually a green orb in addition to what I saw up in the sky that came really close to my face, that it happened so fast you don't realize it. And it's those combination events that you have, and if you have the visual effects to go along with it, or the visual thing to record what the human eyes would see, and then take that along with the sensor readings, that's where you get the multiple bang effect, right?
And all the people that say, I really need to see proof, there's the proof. They said, I saw it visually, I saw it on sensors, and it all happened at the same time. And a lot of people don't really realize this, but there's a significant amount of people that get injured when the UFOs are flying by.
Yep.
So what does that mean? That means that there's something in the environment that's energetic, that's flying by your body, your house, whatever, that's actually has enough energy to leave a medical footprint on your body, that when you go to the doctor and they say, I don't know what this came from, but it looks very much like a radiation burn, or it looks like, you encountered something significantly energetic.
Right. Or when I was a young kid and I all of a sudden had issues with my immune system coming out of nowhere. Later in life, I have a lot younger than I should ever have had. I had problems with my thyroid not working the way that it should, which also is indicative of someone who's been exposed to a lot of radiation. So there's a bunch of different signs that the human body has, in addition to the signs in the Claudite Punaman that Gary Nolan has put out in the past, saying that people who have had close experiences with these craft have like this upgraded sensor package within their brain that's different from everybody else. It can actually be detected.
Yep, that's great.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Any questions coming from you, Mike?
Well, not a question, but I want to make a point. I think the way that Jim is describing coordinating the types of videos that occur out there from the public with the sensor data, I don't believe Jim ever saw the clip that we show from time to time from Nikki Williams. I think that maybe we should show that clip to Jim and see if that fits what he was describing, which we know occurs out there as far as like communication, and see if that fits the bill of what he was trying to explain. Can we do that? Do you have access to that?
Well, yeah, I always have access to something. It's just caught me off guard here, so I'll let you talk while I go ahead and find this stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, Jim, this is a clip that was taken a while ago by an amateur. And it was the typical, at first, lights in the sky, which we've all seen before.
All right, so let me go ahead and give the backup for the story. Nick Williams is a truck driver who's been going and recording stuff on the non-human intelligence and UFOs and stuff for a while. He has a Psionics Sport, one of the older Psionics platforms, and when he was driving his truck, he saw something, so he pulled off in Sentinel, Arizona, and this is pointed towards the southwest, towards the Sea of Cortez. And he, looking at the video, he's got like probably anywhere from 11 to 14 UFOs in the sky at any particular time. It's crazy. And it's he has them off in the distance, different things going on. Eventually, over a couple of videos that I don't have here, they're actually going over his head. It's that typical orb silent kind of a thing that's going on. And the video was actually good enough to where Lou Elizondo got it. He shared it with Chris Mellon. He shared it with others. They're all always very interested in it. But the thing is, with a lot of the videos you share, you never hear anything back on the particular video and what they had to say. Let's see if I can find this here. Does that kind of sum it up, Mike?
Oh, that's perfect. But I also think that this is an ideal video clip to correspond with the points that Jim was just making. Plus, I would also be curious to see what his opinion would be of this video, because I think it's one of the most interesting videos to date that we've covered across.
I got you. Here, almost there. I have to download it again and bring it up. Give me a second.
So, Mike, is this something that you had other sensors in the area, or this is all video?
All video. But you made a point before about sometimes the reason that there are appearances going on from these objects is that it's some form of communication.
Oh, I see. Oh, yes. Yes.
It is. This video is going to show not just the person filming it, but also interacting with these objects, and they're interacting back. And I wanted you to see that, and I wanted your opinion on that, because it's one of the most interesting types of communication or interaction that I've seen in one of these videos.
Okay, let me go ahead and bring this up. Give me a second here. I've got the video bringing it up. Sorry about the dog's noise. I don't have the energy tonight or the pain in my freaking leg to go ahead and stop the husky from going nuts. All right, let me go ahead and bring this up. Let me bring the video here. And I'm just going to go ahead and play this so we can go ahead and watch it. Let me bring this up. Video. There we go. Bring that around. Where is it at? All right. 1 second. We're almost. Oh, wonderful, Mocha. You're a good girl. Yes, you are. Oh, yes, you are. Let me get the document again. Sorry, I've got a husky who likes to talk a lot. Let me bring this one down here. Almost there, guys. Hold on. Almost there. I got that. Okay, let me bring the video up. Yell at the dogs in a second. All right, here we go. I've got that. Let me go ahead and play this. Let me see if I can bring this up to video here. Video full. Where is this at? Let me just take it up to here so you can see this a little bit better, maybe, Jim. The other way. Okay, I'm going to play this full screen so we can go ahead and watch it. Okay, here we go. We turn off the chat so it's not going to be blocked. Okay, here we go.
There we go. Alright. Trying to get it in focus.
So we have these two initial objects that are out here, but there are a bunch of other objects that are moving back and forth within the scene beyond beyond the two bright lights that are out there. So we have objects that are flashing with the lights going back and
Hard to
forth.
get this thing to focus.
Plus other ones that are kind of moving along that are red, like this particular one, that one, etc.
So not prepared for this.
Now watch this one here. It's going to go up here close up towards the lights.
Okay.
That's interesting.
All right.
So that one.
Whoa! Look at those guys. What in the fuck? Oh my god. Holy shit, dude. Oh my god. Dude, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Oh my god. Dude. I need to get my other camera.
Do you know what he's flashing? Is it just a regular flashlight?
He's got like one of those tack lights, you know, really high power.
Halogen flashlights. The xenon. Very, very bright.
He doesn't get any more flashes back at him on this one.
Holy shit, dude.
But it looks pretty stable.
All right.
So I see the telephone pole, and it looks like it's staying in the same general vicinity of that
The telephone pole is up close, and what we're seeing is probably a good half mile off in the distance, well beyond it.
We're getting the other camera. Hold on one second.
This is where he goes to bring out the other camera, and the other camera that was charged, the battery's dead.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Holy shit. All right. Fuck. All right, we're going to try and place this on the thingamabobber here.
And the thing is, when he places the camera and sets it down, this is actually some of the best footage we're going to get because it's going through the UV colored or the UV treated front windshield in addition to the psionics. So we're actually going to see these things moving around. We have things that are flashing, moving. We have objects that are constant. We have the one that just went off there and went and flashed there. But after it flashes, you're going to see it's moving along. There it is there.
Yep.
And then it's going to keep on moving along the floor. There's another one. There it goes again. There's another one going in. And I think we tracked about at least 10 different objects moving around in the sky when all this stuff was going on.
Dude, this thing's dead. You got to be kidding me, dude.
Did they get a feel for anything in the neighborhood, like an Air Force base or something like that?
There's a Air Force training grounds back in that way, but there was nothing going on in the skies that night when the local base was called to say was anything going on in the state as far as nighttime training, and they said nothing was going on.
What in the fuck? Seriously? This thing's out of batteries. You gotta be shitting me right now.
So yeah, this one flying away, this one flying away. You've got another one over here, another one over here, another one over here, another one down here. Overall, and I think we counted like 10 or 11 different objects that were flying around in the sky right when that stuff was going on.
Well, my other camera's out of batteries.
Going back, there was a point where they flashed a flashlight at it and it actually turned on.
It flashed back.
Yeah,
The exact amount of times, and it was responding.
that was crazy.
I don't see any other way to interpret this other than communication.
Now here, check this out. You've got this one here going down on an angle. When it gets down on an angle, it flashes and then it comes back up again. There it goes with the flash. Here
And I don't see the red-green lights of a drone or of a
No, you
aircraft.
don't. So what happens is you've got the one object that's going here. It's going to go across, and it goes into the light, and then it goes up, over, and across, and that's the one that's going to flash. It's going to go across. There it goes right there. He's going to bring out his flashlight. It's going to stop.
Look at those guys.
Stop in
What
place.
in the fuck?
And
Oh my
start
god.
going back towards the two lights. Here he goes. Signals it.
Holy
Boom.
shit, dude. Oh my god. Dude, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Oh my god.
And that was another object lighting up. The one that he just saw lit up just went into that light, and we've got another one that's over on the left side that just flared up again.
And they said their battery drained on the camera that wasn't even being used at the
Yes.
point.
That was charged. Yeah.
Yeah. He had a
In proximity
4K
to these objects.
camera that he was going to use to try and record it. But when he was recording it, he went to bring the camera out, and the battery was completely drained.
Dude. I need to get my other camera.
And you'll hear the noise when he brings up the camera, and it's complaining that it's not, there's no charge.
Holy shit, dude. Alright.
It's 2022.
We're getting the other camera. Hold on.
I have all the original videos on this. I was actually the one who put it together, did the intro, put the copyright on the center, because I figured if he was going to bring this out and shared it, a lot of times when people bring out videos like this, they get shared by everybody, and the original person doesn't get any credit. So I put his name right in the center of the video to make sure that if people want to try and crop it, there's no way they're going to take out his name.
1 second. Holy shit. Alright. Fuck. Alright, we're gonna try and place this on the thingamabobber here.
Of this whole thing is that what if you're seeing this and you capture this, and there's so many people in the United States or around the world, how many other ones have we not seen that just get lost in the sauce?
Exactly.
We never get to to analyze.
No, you're right. And if you had sensors there while this video was being shot, you would have proof positive. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, but now that you saw this video, is there any other way to describe this but as some form of communication from these objects?
You're communicating with something, obviously. I mean, it's too coincidental to have it flash back the same pattern that you just flashed to be just a...
Right, they're responding.
So either it's, I can't, something is generating the lights that are being generated by the driver or the person taking the film.
Right.
Whatever it is.
And the one thing we haven't had is people who have the opportunity to go back and record in this spot. No one's gone back to this spot yet to record since this initial video was done, which just blows my mind.
And that's why I say the majority of the good data is going to come from the regular people out there that have millions and millions of cameras and have the opportunity to take measurements and do recordings and do all this stuff, post it, let everybody take a look at it, let scientists take a look at it. And, we will miss these things. It would be great if one of those cars was actually doing the exact same thing as this person was. So we'd have two simultaneous readings going on right at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's when you start getting the really good
There
data.
was another truck who was next to Nick who, after this stuff was done, the trucker basically turned on the truck and got the hell out of there. He's like, I've seen enough. I've had enough. I'm getting the fuck out of here.
That's incredible.
Smart guy. It's us white dudes who will hang out there like we're in a haunted house. Our house is haunted. No, we're not going to sell it. We're going to stay here and live.
Okay.
But you know what this is? This confirms, Jim, that you're right. This is out there all around, all the time. If more people have equipment, more people have cameras going, you're going to see more and more of this. And I think this is pretty amazing because it wasn't just an object or objects that were shining and going by. They were interacting, which I think is
there were
amazing.
a bunch of objects. Here's one here moving in the sky. There's another one here moving in the sky. There's another one over here, another one over here, another one over here. There's another one up there. There were like 11 things all moving around in this theater all at once. And if this was a potential Air Force thing going on, you wouldn't have so many things moving around and zooming around in close proximity.
Oh, I agree.
I could be wrong, though.
You gotta be shitting me right now.
And these two objects that are there kept on going, and eventually separated, and they went over his vehicle in another video.
Have you ever seen video of this type before, Jim?
Yeah, in fact, if you want, I could show you some stuff.
Oh, that'd be great.
My other cameras have batteries.
If I could share, can I share?
That's really
Yeah, I just have to set it up for it, but yeah.
And this infrared.
Let me get it. Oh boy,
I can't quite get it. There's a train going.
he's got.
by
There goes a train off in the distance on this
can't
one.
get it.
Where you can see the train going across off in the distance.
Like.
And you can hear it. But all the things that are going on there, completely silent. You don't hear anything.
Focused enough.
All right, so you're going to share something, so I need to go and, oh, Jesus Christ, how am I going to do this? Let me figure this out. Give me a second here, Jim. How am I?
But these occurrences are going on all the time, all around the planet. And if this equipment is more widespread, people have it running, and instances like this seem to be popping up more and more, that's going to start to move the needle for the public on data and video that is hard to, at that point, dispute. Don't you think?
There we go.
I 100% agree. If you have the massive, the masses with an inexpensive piece of equipment that's scientifically verified, that they can just pull out when they see something. It has to be instantaneous. They just take it out of their pocket or whatever, and they have to point it at it, and all of a sudden it just takes all sorts of reading. It gathers all the data. It does everything, sends it up to the cloud, so we can start correlating this with other events in the local area. This might have happened 10 minutes later down the street. And
Right.
without knowing this or having this information that we don't know.
Exactly. And now here's the thing. A lot of these videos that come out to the public, most of the time people are going to try to debunk it and say, well, it's CGI. It's not real. That's not a real video. Somebody created that. But if you have the senses, the multi-senses, the data is not CGI. It couldn't be. So you have corroboration right there. That would shut up the debunkers. That's what you mean by syncing the video with the sensor and the data information, right?
So you get real-time correlation between what you're seeing, what the camera's seeing, and what the sensors are seeing. And then hopefully somebody else, maybe 100 feet, a mile away, saying the same thing with their sensors, their video camera, and you putting all that together. So not only do you see it, you can figure out where it is in space.
Yeah, triangulation. You get more data, more information.
Yeah. Really quick, I want to thank David Jones for that wonderful super chat that he sent across a little bit ago. Awesome content, great show. Thank you very much, David. We had another super chat before the show started for $5 before I was able to go ahead and get that up. I want to thank everybody who sends across super chats. Every dollar that we get from Disclosure tonight goes back into our production. And thank you, David, and the anonymous person. We greatly appreciate that.
So there are hotspots that are publicly known.
Now, there's supposedly one in the desert Southwest where it's on an Indian reservation, and this stuff comes out on a regular basis, and you're literally like going there to see God. Now, who was aware of that? God, one of the founders of NARCAP, Ted Rowe, knows where this is. And when I was going to be able to get my immune system back online, which it's still not the way where it should be, Ted had talked about this, and I was just saying that was the first place I wanted to go potentially when my immune system came back to go ahead and check out, because if it's a place you can go and see something and see it on a regular basis, that's the kind of location we need. All right, and that is the end of the video.
So now Jim has some videos that he can show us.
Yeah,
that I think would be very interesting.
I think
I can show you this whole, not the whole presentation, but I can give you a good overview of. It's a video that was shot at a property that we've been investigating over the past 6 months or so.
Sure.
A lot of activity, a lot of orb activity going on there. And if I could, I can do it.
Go ahead and share it. And then I will go ahead and bring that up. Give me a second. Let me get this set here. And I will get this set here. And I will get this set here. And I will give you full screen. Go ahead and talk, Jim. You've got full screen here.
All right. So basically, this is an investigation that we started doing a little bit of work with Gary Nolan and some other scientists. You can see them all labeled here.
So you're talking Jim Semivan, John Alexander, Jay Stratton, Dr. Travis Taylor, Gary Nolan, David Grush, Lou Elizondo, David Fravor, and of course you all. That is one heck of a list.
Yeah, so these are all people that know about this particular case, been all very supportive, saying you really should investigate this. So just to give you a little bit of an idea of what we're talking about here. So there's this person's backyard looks over this big wide span area where there's a reservoir, big open plot of water, not a whole lot of anything there. There's really nothing there at all. And he's been seeing these orbs flying over that area. It's not over his backyard. It's in the distance, maybe a half a mile or so, maybe 300-400 feet above the ground. And there are these orbs that he's been filming since 2021, November 2021.
And I have to say that one you have on the right, that color is the same color of the objects I have flying over right in front of my house.
Oh, right. In fact, you want to see, this is one of the films that he took. It was actually quite interesting. And you can see the way it's moving around, and it's very interesting to see. It kind of splits in two a little bit.
It's got duplication going on.
So that was one of the films that he recorded.
Wow, interesting.
And
Now,
then
duplication
this one
means based
actually-
on the object as it's moving along, because it's it's an object that's dealing with a gravitational wave and everything,
Yep.
like an Einstein ring around it to a degree. Is depending on how you're seeing it, you'll see one object, you'll see two
Right.
objects, you'll see invisibility and stuff along those lines, right, Jim?
Yep, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And then this one is actually quite interesting. It's a very short excerpt of it, but you can see that, and this goes on for a little while. So basically, it's one thing, but it breaks up into these little things.
Into like four into four things. Wow.
Yep. And then this one. So you got all these. This is taken in the wintertime. You can see this thing passing over, and what he does is this person.
Now
actually,
those white things that are there,
that's just the bugs and snow.
I gotcha.
And
But
things like
there are
that.
people who have been recording stuff coming on indoor in a filtered air room and stuff, and they do have those little white objects and these little floater
Yep.
things that are moving around, and it looks like under intelligent control, but you can't see it with the regular eye, and it's not dust, it's not anything else. And there's a lot of people who have like the Wise cams that are picking this stuff up.
Sure. So one thing you have to remember is that the infrared spectrum
Yeah.
is much, much smaller. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, the wavelength is much, much bigger than the visible light. So
Right.
things that are tiny, tiny, tiny look very, very big
Gotcha.
in infrared. So yeah, it's very, very easy to get fooled by that. But
I gotcha.
there's some data that's really good. And like this was all taken infrared, but this is not, this is not one of those. This is something that is just sitting up there, moving around, gyrating back and forth.
Mhm.
And one of the interesting things is that we had an instance where there was this orb that flew by, and we got all of this. So this is normal data. So if you look at this, it's a microwave energy.
Right.
So the purple line is microwave energy. Normally, it sits between the red line. It just bounces back and
Right.
forth here. But during the episode which is this purple line where the orb was visible, this thing started cranking up, and the electromagnetic energies went way up on the scale and started shaking around way up here and
Wow.
came down again. Also, the green line, which is the gamma, we had a whole bunch of gamma spikes right when this orb was visible in the camera.
Oh,
you had
wow.
all this gamma. Normally, this gamma is way down here in the the lower green over here, it's way down here.
Right.
And then at the same time, the magnometer, which is measuring like the gravity of the Earth, spiked. What usually just goes back and forth between this red line, spiked up and came up, and so did the gyroscope.
Right. So, if I get a sensor here, it's a matter of watching for when these particular things spike to give me a warning to say, go take a look outside and see what's happening.
That's exactly right. Yep. So, I mean, that's basically something. So it's interesting to say that, so here's a couple instances of people that are seeing these things in their backyard with their normal cameras. I gave this person some equipment to measure it with, of course, and that's where we had the correlation. But there has to be millions of instances like this that we can report. And that's the argument, is that, let's go to the general public, because they're the one with the great information. They have the time. They're not the government needing budgets. They're just out there in their backyard at night.
Yeah. But in this kind of situation, it actually gives you an idea when things are going to be going on to be able to get you outside to go ahead and look if you don't have those additional cameras set up and the monitoring to get yourself there.
Right. So the idea here is now, if you can record the data and you get the video, if you could run all that data through some kind of a AI engine that says, oh, wait a minute, last time I saw something like this, in about 4 hours, you start having UFOs, then that can actually give you an early warning.
Gotcha.
And that's what we're doing now. So
and this goes well beyond people looking for the spikes in the 1.6 gigahertz range, because now we're looking at microwave radiation, we're looking at gamma radiation, we're looking at magnetometers to understand where gravity is, and we're seeing a lot of things all spike, and set off, if you want to call it. There's more than one thing going on here to go ahead and correlate. When we've got this spiking, we've got this spiking, and there's other things going. And we have this visual effect of something that's there. It shows you there's a there.
Yeah, there's more than background noise, and that's the most important thing. Background noise, it should go on all day long. Nothing's bothering it. Even cell phones won't make this happen.
Right.
But when something energetic flies by, all of a sudden, all these little sensors start pinging, and you get correlations, and that's where the good data is.
Good night, Kelly. Yeah, absolutely. This is a really interesting conversation. I can't wait to see where all of this is going to go. Any questions from anybody in the back for what we've been talking about? You guys have been quiet.
Or any questions from people in the front, if they have anything, feel free to ask.
Yeah. In the front, make sure you jiggle. In the back, make sure you wipe.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the whole idea, Jim. I think the open source approach that you're taking with this is where it needs to be. It's how you're going to get the word out.
Yeah.
The way I see it.
That's how science evolved for all these years, and that's how science will continue to evolve.
Yeah. And it's keeping it in the public sphere, which is important, where disclosure has been quieted down. We're seeing some of this stuff and platforms being created to go ahead and commercialize and monetize it and push it towards the military. You've got a platform that's there, and it's going for the greater public good and interest and information that can be shared with the public versus information that's going to be gathered and obfuscated in another layer of anti-disclosure.
Right, or sold or monetized in some fashion.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. God, I think we've befuddled our back, Mike. They're not asking questions, and usually the hands are popping up left and right. I don't get it. We must be doing something right here.
It's a Monday night. It's after the Father's Day holiday weekend.
Oh, but a lot. So, yeah, I know. But you know the back. Usually they have. You know what it is? We're not off air because we're off air. They're raising their hands all the time, yelling on top of each other. Where's Tia for that matter? Michael, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was going to say you guys are having such a good conversation. You answered all our questions, or some of the ones we had.
Son of a bitch.
You know, so we're just listening to you. But I have a question for Jim.
Take it.
Jim, is there any way you think you can protect your surveying equipment from ET?
That's a good question. Why is it not getting pinged like cell phones and batteries and things like that? And I've always asked myself that question. Because
PoE, power over Ethernet. Means you've got a steady supply that they can drain out, right?
Yeah, so basically that's exactly true. I mean, we designed into it the ability to have a lot of redundancy and protection within the devices. So there's a lot of protection. That's one theory that's one way.
Have you tried anything to protect the equipment?
Oh yeah. So yeah, I bought, I have radioactive material that I use to try to ping it. I have these big antennas that I stick on it and I blast it with it just so I can give an idea of what the levels are of different things, and I'd move them far away, move them close. We did this back in Hal's lab. So, Hal's got so many.
When we go for x-rays in the hospital, they use a lead shield to protect us from radiation. I wonder if some kind of lead shield that's made out of lead that could go over your camera except for the lens and see if they can protect it that way.
You can, but then again, you're going to be blocking out all the cool information. So you want to be able to bring in the information at the same time, just differentiate it from background noise and then record it, because that's where the cool stuff is.
Yeah. And have you had any success with any of your equipment in trying to protect or even marginal success.
Yeah, I'm very sure that I'm still reading I'm reading the actual phenomena because we have so much correlation. Don't forget, I had this out there for 3 years between 35 people, and now we're out there again. We're back out now with almost half a dozen people, and it never seems to have overwhelmed the system to the point where I can't read what's going on in the environment.
Yeah. So do you ever get frustrated with yourself and just say, "I'll give up"?
No, of course not, because I see a lot of the data coming in and doing a lot with the data and seeing how all of these things are actually pointing to the fact that there is this phenomena out there, whether it's flying in the sky, it's presenting itself as orbs, as aircraft, it's interacting with people, and people are actually getting sensory perceptions of these things, and that's what they're recording. So I'm not only getting sensor data, visible data, but I'm getting narratives from people at the time that the orbs or the UAPs are flying over. They're having sensations. They're like having actual experiences, and they're recording those. And I'm actually spinning all that data into the.
What kind of experiences, if I may ask?
Well, experiences like they would actually. Some people would go catatonic. Like the camera would pick something up. The instruments would pick something up. They would actually lose an hour. So they would go
wow!
catatonic.
So they're losing time.
Yeah, and then they record that. He says, my family walked in. He says, where the hell you been? You've been in your room for an hour. He says, what do you mean? I just walked in 5 minutes ago. So there's a lot of narratives like that. I have thousands of those narratives from people. They would see things. They would see things flying across in their bedroom, or they would have premonitions of somebody would call them. When these things fly by, it would do something to their heads that actually would make them have these sensations.
I wonder how that has to do with their propulsion system and creating a graviton wave of some kind, or some kind of wave that skews time.
Well, yeah, our brain is made up of the ions, and I have so many ions flowing in our head that are controlling our thoughts. I mean, that's how our brain works, just by the passage of ions from one neuron to another neuron. If you get a very large electromagnetic field coming in your area, it's naturally going to disturb that, and your brain's going to start trying to interpret that, which either hallucinates or.
Next question would be: is it actual time lost, as in a linear time, or is it just because of the way the brain works, it thinks it's lost an hour?
I think what happens is the people actually go into a state where they are so focused on what it is that this thing is doing. They don't really have a concept of what's going on around them. So they appear to lose time in their own minds, but actually time is ticking forward because everybody outside the room or outside, has very linear time.
That was kind of the thing where you just mentioned.
The mic here. I'm going to pass it on to none of your business.
Yeah, but before I get to you, Nania, that was part of the situations you just brought up, Jim, where the people said, "Hey, where you been the last hour?" And I just got in 10 minutes ago, kind of a thing, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. If it happens once, happens twice, it's like, oh, that's cool. But we're talking hundreds of times recorded in our data that we've had over the past 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
at many different sites, or a few.
Many all over. So a lot in the Uinta Basin. Utah seems to have a lot of things going on there. But there was also stuff in Oregon. There was stuff actually in the East Coast, down in the Washington area. So it's like all over the place.
But you're seeing the same pattern, irrespective of where it's going on.
Yep.
Yeah. It's kind of like this morning. Took a little time, did some meditation, felt like hours went by, went and looked at the clock. It was less than 20 minutes. Reverse kind of a thing. Feels like a lot of time has passed when you're out of body. When you get back to real time, it's like, holy shit. Really? Yeah.
That's right.
Susan Ford, also known as Nania Business. Susan, go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, my voice is a bit off because I've got the flu. You're saying that you take video and you have sensors. What sort of sensors are they?
Sexes or senses?
So what I try to do is spread out as much as I can. Like, for instance, I do electromagnetic. That's a given. We also go higher in the spectrum of electromagnetic spectrum up into the gamma range. So I measure a lot of the alpha particles, beta particles, things like that, or even just the high energy photons. So that's one area. But also I'm very interested in knowing what's happening to the space-time metric. So I've got the galvanometer, or I've got the magnometer and the gyroscopic sensor and all the accelerometer. I look at the, believe it or not, I look at the GPS, because GPS is all satellite-based. Satellite communication is all electromagnetic. So if you start all of a sudden, I've seen this 100 times where people would say there's a UFO flying over, and all of a sudden they lose all of their GPS satellites. They just go from 20 satellites that they're tracking down to 0, like in one shot, just when a UFO flies by. So, and then I do environmental stuff. I do sound, the sound, like the infrasound. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
It's, of course, really low level,
very, very low,
like frequency sounds.
So you get that wobbling sound, that very, very energetic down there.
Yeah.
So I record that. And all of these things are happening at the same time, but the computer doesn't really care. It's just recording and just sending it up to the cloud.
It'd be great if I could find some of the stuff that's going on here, because when these things are going by, we've got multiple airports in the area and everything, whether it's a helicopter, a small Cessna, 737, etc., or bigger jets that are coming up and down from Payne Field, which is the plant from Boeing and Everett. Everything makes a sound, but when I have these craft going by, completely silent, nothing. It's a whisper.
I've seen it. So I've heard that exact thing so many times. Yeah. It's like the environment just shuts off, and nothing actually makes any noise. It's just so strange. And
that's what I remember as a kid. Actually, the one thing I remember, all the different things that went on, but the biggest thing was missing was any kind of a sound going through the entire piece. And it's like, wait a minute, there was no sounds going on.
Yep.
Yeah, but and the ones I'm seeing here, you can, if there were sounds going around in the area, there are, but there's no sound emanating from the craft, no electrical hum, no sounds of any kind of propulsion device, just silently just booking across the sky.
So then the question is, is it that there is no sound in the environment, so there's no acoustic sounds, which is your air molecules flying around, right? Or is it that you're desensitized your cochlear nerves and that they're not picking it up? The thing is that sometimes the equipment is all of a sudden going from background noise, which is just a wiggly line of sound energy, down to pretty much nothing for a short period of time, then comes back again.
Oh, really? So, it actually does deaden the sound in the area.
Yeah, so I've had, maybe 30 or 40 times where people have said, there's something going by, all sound disappeared, and we can actually verify that with the signals. Not a lot. I mean, you have to remember, I've had thousands and thousands of these instances, but, the actual where all of these sensors ping at the same time are very rare. But that's the good data. It's when all of them ping.
Wow.
So Jim, could this be some sort of a white noise effect where it's just jamming the background noise, the sound levels?
They could be canceling. It could be reverberating, just like the communication with that UFO. Maybe they're sending back whatever sound that they're getting, sending it back in reverse. That's exactly how our noise canceling.
Or it's a gravitational effect that's just wiping out the sound.
Or it could be, that's actually interesting. It could be significantly redshifted. So what was maybe 100 hertz got shoved down to 10 hertz, which we can't hear anymore.
Yeah.
Right. That's where I was going with that.
Yeah, that's Mike, that's actually quite possible that it gets shifted because it's entering an area that is compressed. Maybe it's going above, so maybe dogs can hear. And actually, that's actually quite interesting. dogs are the biggest indicators of something strange going to happen. They'll start barking. They'll start going crazy outside. So if you look at the narratives that I got back from all the people that were in the study, it always started out, well, the dog started barking. I felt really funny. I felt scared. I felt like I was very apprehensive. It was always the dog started barking. So whatever's going on, they're more receptive to it than we are, which is very strange.
Interesting to say the least. The plot thickens, my friend. Wow.
We have all these great sensors out there. We just have to figure out how to correlate them all and put them all together.
It's looking at the data, finding the correlations between the data, connecting the dots, and then trying to come up with, I guess, the hypothesis or some kind of summary to understand of, okay, based on this data, here's some things and observations that correlate across this huge data set.
Yep.
Yeah, someone in the audience says, Mick says, cats know, but won't tell you shit.
Dogs are good. Dogs are good.
Absolutely. If I can, I am in horrible pain here tonight. My leg is still not healed. I got something going on with circulation or something in my leg. I've got it up on some foam and on top of a box right now, and it's just freaking killing me. I need to get it back and insulated. It's been a great conversation here, Jim, tonight. Is there anything we haven't covered that you'd like to bring out?
No, I think that we covered a lot of good stuff. That video was amazing. I think it shows us that there's a lot of data out there. We just have to go get it.
Yep. We just have to be in the spots, have the data recorded, and get it out there and share it. And I can't wait to talk to you after the show, or at least during the next follow-up, whatever it is, to figure out how to get a sensor at least out here so I can start trying to track and figure out when these orbs are flying by and being able to use it as a warning sensor for myself day or night to get the heck out there and see what's going in front of the Fessler residence. All right. On that note, I want to go ahead and thank everybody for coming out to this episode of Disclosure tonight. More importantly, I want to thank the people who have given us some super chats. Did I shut it down? Let me go ahead and bring that up. I want to go ahead and thank the people who have given us some wonderful super chats tonight. Who am I talking about? Got a few out there. Let's go ahead and thank the people. We've got a mystery person who threw $5 our way. Who am I talking about? No, I don't want to give myself a super chat. I want to bring it up. Who is there? Thank you for that mystery person who threw out a super chat. Also, thanks to David Jones for that wonderful super chat, and for Faisal. Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate your love and support for everything we do here at Disclosure tonight. But more importantly, I want to thank the people in the chat who have been around tonight. You've been part of the conversation. Appreciate anyone being here. Oh, wait a minute. We got one more super chat coming in from Anonymous Rex, who says, great conversation, great show. Thank you very much, Tim. I appreciate that. On that note, I also want to go ahead and thank all the people who have been in the chat tonight. Who am I talking about? Let me bring up a list and thank the people who are still in the chat. I want to thank Anonymous Rex, Charles Kerr, Clear Glass Studios, Eli McGinnis, Evan B, Firefly, Invisible Tracker, JCat, Kathy King Bull, Laura Campbell, Merrill, Mick, Resonate, Reality Check, Rough Ready, Ryan Baker, and Shermanator Osborne, and watching vids. More importantly, it's not just about the people who super chats for us. It's also about the people who have been in the back during the conversation today. The people who have brought the questions forward, who we still have. Michael, thanks for coming out tonight and your questions.
You're welcome, Thomas, anytime.
Also want to thank, let's say, None of Your Business. Thanks for the questions tonight.
You're welcome, Thomas.
All right, and that takes us back to take that down and say, Mike, what a quick night. What a great conversation. Where could 2 hours go so fast?
You took the words right out of my mouth. It really went by very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
It was one hell of a conversation that we had with Jim, and it really moved very quickly because it was fascinating with the amazing work that he's doing and sharing it with us. It is an incredible conversation tonight. I can't thank Jim enough for participating.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah.
The audience had fun. We had fun. I really got a kick out of it.
Absolutely. And again, back to you, Jim. Thank you for coming out tonight. You've been such a great guest. A lot of great information. Thanks for the updates. And thanks for sharing some of the information from your confidential deck. That was really insightful.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. And as we usually say here on Disclosure tonight to all of our friends, eyes open, no fear, be safe, everyone. But
go back to Party City where you belong.
Absolutely. We'll catch you on the flip side. Good night, everybody. I'll come back now here. Catch you on Friday. Bye-bye.